Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I've spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I'm currently just sitting in my cell in the SMU. But like I said, while you're in the cell, life still goes on. Just not a whole lot of it. You know, for me, I was fortunate enough to have my family, to have my wife send me books and stuff to read to keep me occupied. But other people keep themselves occupied by hustling. Some people can draw, so they'll draw on cards, they'll draw on envelopes, or they'll draw you a portrait on their drawing paper so you can get. You know, at this time, I'm on restriction. I'm on commissary restriction, visiting restriction, phone restriction. So since I went to the SHU in November 2016, or 2015, November of 2015, I haven't spoke to anybody in the real world. I haven't been able to call my family. I haven't been able to talk to my wife. And every time commissary comes, we got to buy it from the next guy that orders. And everything over there, soups are 35 cents. On phase 2, I think you can get soups. You can get 4 soups, a bag of peanuts, pack of batteries, AAA or AA, a couple candy bars. But everything sells for a book. So they sell you 4 soups for a book. You know, that's like $1.50 for $11. You know, everybody's hustling. Other people, they make fishing lines. They'll rip up the sweats, not the sweats. Yeah, they can rip up their sweats or the jumpsuits they give us, the oranges they give us. They rip them out, split the threads, spin them, and make lines. And other people, the way they hustle is they fish for people. Like at this time, me and Easy were on the 3rd floor. And across from us, there's a grass, a walkway, space for grass, and another building. If you're on the 3rd floor, there's a hole because they have they got a window that you can crack open, but also but in front of the window is like it's not bars, but it's like it's a cage, but it's got holes, you know, little round holes in it, about maybe, I don't know, the size of an eraser. But then in one area, you got a big ass hole about this big that you put your stick through to push the window open. Well, on that hole, we make a spear. We roll up envelopes. You split the envelopes up, roll it real tight, seal it, so it's just a tube. Then you keep rolling it and connect it until you get it to about 3 feet long. 3 feet long, you stick the tip inside the hole and you just try to javelin that motherfucker across the way as far as you can. And the guy on the other side would shoot their line off the 3rd floor and the strings would just come across each other. They pull it, get it tangled up, pull it up, and now you got a rope suspended all the way across one building to the other. And people that want to send stuff to the other block, you know, they pay us 5 stamps for each shipment. So if they're sending pictures over there, whatever they're sending, we roll it up. You know, you got to roll everything up into a tube. When you're sending a picture, you got to roll that bitch up till it's about the size of your pinky. Wrap it up, and you send it across the line. You know, so most of the things that you're doing is just inside your cell to keep yourself occupied. You know, but there's still dangers in there. And the danger is the people that you celly up with. You know, even homeboys are known to get into it with each other, get in a fight, even try to kill each other, because you got 2 grown-ass men in a small-ass cell, 8 by 9, 8 by 10 maybe. And you're spending 24 hours a day in there with each other. we all have different personalities, even though we're all homeboys or we're from different races or different gangs. Even we're all men and we get along. It's just, so sometimes you just wake up and it's not that day. And your celly's not recognizing that or whatever, and you clash. You know, every morning when we wake up, Easy would look out the window. He'd be like, hey, look over there on the 3rd floor, 4 cells from the pole. And we'd look over there and the light is on and they're arguing. The 2 cellies are arguing. Then Easy would look down, you know, on the other building somewhere else. Hey, on the 2nd floor, 3 cells to the right. We look over there and there's cellies over there fighting. Because, you know, before the light comes up in the morning, before the sun comes up, if they have their lights on in their cell, we can see directly into their cell or whatever angle that we're at. You know, during the day, you can't see it because of the light. But it's always at nighttime, when the sun set or right before dawn is when everybody's funking with their cellies. You know, prime example, one of the 2 dudes that we wrecked with on the regular was a Mexican dude from Denver. He was a blood, but he went to Victorville, so he ended up running under the Serenos. And then we had another Mexican dude from Virginia, but he ran Paisa. He got put in one of the facilities on the East Coast on a Paisa yard, and he ended up running Paisa. But he's not a Paisa. He was born here in America, been to the military. He spoke Spanish, but he spoke perfect English. He ended up running Paisa because of the circumstances that he was put in. But at the same time, the Paisas, even though he's running Paisa, don't really fully accept him. They call him plastico. Plastico in English is obvious, means plastic. Like, these are fake Mexicans. These are how the Paisas and the ones that are across the border look at the ones that are born here in America. You know, he come out to wreck with us every day, but his cellie never came out. The whole time I was there, I never met his cellie. So one day when he comes out, he has a big ass scar from his wrist almost to the inside of his elbow. You know, when the medics came and took him, instead of sewing him up, they put this freaking super glue on him. Super glue on him. So when it healed up, it was just a big pink bubble. You know, because they could have sewed it up and he might have had a light ass scar, but he decided to use this super glue or whatever they had to heal the wounds. So when his wound healed up, it was just a big ass white bubble, pink bubble, going from almost his wrist to the inside of his elbow. Well, leading up to that, like every time he comes out, he's complaining about his cellie. You know, his cellie never comes out to wreck. So, you know, some people, when you're cellie up 24/7 like that, sometimes one guy will stay in to get some cell time while his cellie goes out to wreck, and vice versa. Or one cellie, when they call a shower, will go out to the shower and give the other guy some cell time. But his Paisa, he never leaves the cell, the one that's cellie with the kid from Virginia. And so every day when that kid comes out, he's always complaining about the Paisa dude that's his cellie. Like, he'll just eat some or whatever and just throw it at the toilet, and if he misses it, he just leaves the trash there. And dude have to repeatedly keep telling him, hey man, don't do that. We both live in here. Keep the cell clean. You know, when you're cellie up with somebody, sanitation is very important. You know, you can't be sitting there, living there like a biker. If you're not cleaning after yourself, if you're not showering, depending on what cellie you have, determines how long before he busts your head. Because somehow everybody that gets locked up develop this OCD shit, this freaking germaphobe shit. Like you'll see dudes that just tweak in their cell all day, shining their toilet and their sink, freaking mopping up their floor or scrubbing their floor, like for hours at a time in their cell. It's a psychosis that I've seen a lot of people come into the penitentiary have. You know, even after a while, I developed that shit. Like when I walk into my cell and I see something, I'm constantly picking up shit. I'm not to the point where I'm crazy with it, but a lot of dudes become like that. You know, the homie Brian Chan from Green Dragon. Me and him spent like 4 or 5 months in the shoe together. And literally, this dude will walk around behind me with a wet toilet paper in his hand. No matter what I'm doing, you know, if I'm brushing my teeth or whatever, I see him behind me picking up stuff. You know, I'm like, what the fuck you doing, man? Hey, I'm gonna clean. Because, man, it's cool. It's just, this is how I am. You know, at first it was kind of like irking me because he's just like acting like I'm not gonna pick up after myself. And I'm just looking at him like, man, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? But it was just the way he ended up being. Like, if he see a spot on the toilet, he'll be over there rubbing that bitch down, cleaning the mirror, the sink, you know, the floor, the bare, you know. But it's not like, but I started to understand that he's not saying I'm being dirty or not clean after myself. It's just, this is how his clock ticks. So once we understand that, I didn't pay him too much mind. But, you know, I do my best to make sure that I'm always clean. My area is clean. I pick after myself because I don't want to be picking up after anybody. That's my cellie. And I'm pretty sure they don't want to pick up after me. And I know and I've seen that shit so many times get people into a wreck when two cellies are not compatible. You know, but I've been with cellies that had a lot of different personalities. And I understand that everybody isn't the same and we all have different personalities. So for me, the only thing I expect is that you clean after yourself, you mind your business. That's it. You know, I don't care what you do, be considerate of each other's time. If I'm out in the yard all day and you're in the unit, in the cell all day, but when I come off the yard, I expect you to move around and give me some cell time. Same way. And if I have a cellie that isn't courteous or conscious of how to get along, then we're not going to be cellies for long. But through the course of my bid, I've been fortunate enough that all my cellies been good. You know, all my cellies, they've been respectful, they clean after themselves, and they all been good homies. But back to the story with this kid from Virginia, like I said, we're in a shoe. The smooth, the shoe, it's the same thing. We're just locked down. They call it a program, but it's not a program. We're just locked down. They give us these booklets that they don't even look at, that I've been doing for months, not even knowing that it's all bullshit. But that's my dog, Sophie. She's click-clacking on the floor. But, well, he comes out with a big-ass scar one day, and we're like, what happened? So I guess every time he comes out to the cell, his cellie had got a piece of metal. So from somewhere, we don't know where he got it from. And so every time that kid from Virginia comes out to wreck with us for the hour, that Bisa, unbeknownst to him, is in the cell sharpening that piece of metal. You know, this whole time while the kid's out here wrecking with us, talking shit about his cellie's in there plotting on him. So one day when we go back in for rec, after they bring everybody back in, uncuff everybody, lock in their cell, and move on. You know, when they're doing rec on a tier, you might not see a CO for an hour. You know, you see him at chow, you see him at rec time, you see him at shower, meal time, and when they come pull you out for haircuts and cut your nails or whatever, But for the most part, it might be an hour, 2 hours in between before a staff member walks on your tier. So when the kid goes back into the cell, gets uncuffed, and this is a story he's relaying to us. And the CO leaves the tier, the bicep dude, he's on the bottom bunk. Most people, if you've done a lot of time, unless you're comfortable with your cellie, unless your cellie is like a homie or whatever, they always want the top bunk. Because it's easier for somebody to sneak you and get you while you're on the bottom bunk. On the top bunk, they got to climb up on the bunk, and you can put your back to the wall and defend yourself. But on the bottom bunk, they can tower over you, just get on top of you, and you're a body. Most people, they get butchered by their cellie in the middle of the night or early dawn, or were living on the bottom bunk because their cellie was able to get down and make a move on them before they have a chance to defend themselves. So I guess when everybody left the tier and it's just the kid from Virginia and his bison cellie, the bison was eating some, and again, he threw the garbage towards the toilet, but it didn't go in the toilet. It just landed by the toilet. And the Virginia kid said, like, he wasn't going to say something because, he said it so many times to tell the dude not to do that, and he keeps doing that. So he's getting frustrated, and he's contemplating on what he's supposed to do or what he should do, because he really don't want to start the program over. He's been there 6 months. It's a 9-month program. If you get a shot for anything, for fighting, for lighting a fire, for refusing an order, any type of shot you get set back day one, phase one. And the smooth, for me, it wasn't that bad. You just stuck in the cell. But who the fuck wants to be stuck in the cell for 9 months and then get close to completing and starting over if they don't have to? But sometimes situation arises where you don't have no choice. So he says something to the bicep. But he knows at this time, if he says something to the bicep, that it's going to escalate because it's been happening for months already, and now it's getting to a boiling point. So the bicep talks shit, whatever, and they're like, all right, whatever. So the bicep goes, he picks up the stuff, puts it in the toilet, flushes it, and as far as the kid from Virginia is concerned, the situation is dead. Well, later on in the day, the kid is sitting down at a table trying to write a letter to his family. And out of the corner of his eye, you see the bicep moving around. But he's not thinking of it because, I'm not sure what was going on in his head, but he didn't think that the bicep was trying to make a move on him. And the bicep did. The bicep rushed him, and they're fighting. They're struggling, whatever they're struggling. And somehow, the next thing he knew, the bicep had something in his hand. Like, he still don't know what exactly was in there. It was just a little metal plate, but it was sharp. And the bicep is trying to slice it. And somehow, like, I wasn't in the cell, but somehow it caught his arm, and that motherfucker was a deep-ass cut from the inside of his elbow all the way down by his wrist. It was just a big-ass gash that dude opened up with that metal thing. But, the kid's been in the military. If you look at him, he doesn't look like he's tough or he's a fighter, but, he's been in the military. And in the military, they teach you hand-to-hand combat. They teach you tactics. He was out in the field, but he came home, and I think his case was a drug case. Came home and hustled and got caught up and got like an 8 or 10 year sentence. And wherever he was at, whatever facility he was at, he got caught up in there and got sent to the smooth. And now he's in a cell fighting for his life. Fortunate for him, he was able to overcome the bicep. And by the time the COs ran over there, he was on top of the bicep, and they're telling him, hey, get off, stop. But you know, he's not going to let the Spicer go because the Spicer still got something in his hand. He's not going to freaking try to get off the Spicer dude and take a risk of getting his fucking slice off across the neck. So the COs end up shooting him up, spraying the cell down until they, you know, they couldn't breathe and coughed up. And finally they went over there because they can't see, they can't breathe. So they went over there and got cuffed up. And the COs opened up the door, ran in there and secured them. But what's dangerous is in there, whether you're in the cage or in your cell. If you're getting into it, those COs are not popping that door. If your ass is getting stabbed on the floor or whatever, in a corner on your bunk, all the CO is gonna do is look in your window, pop the tray slot, and yell at you, stop, 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 stop. I'm giving you a direct order, stop. A fucking direct order. That's what they're doing to try to save your life. If you're the victim, if you're the guy on the bottom that's getting butchered, understand that's all them motherfuckers are doing. 20 of them, 30 of them will respond to the panic button when they hit the deuce. You got 20 motherfuckers running down the hallway. When they get to the cell, all they're doing is trying to peep in the window because they can't open that door. They cannot open that door until your ass is secure. So the next best thing they can do is try to subdue you with their canister of OC and bean bags and flash grenades. But until you're cuffed up and secure, they're not opening that door. So, but when they spray you, you're not subdued right away. Even if they spray you and you're on the bottom getting stabbed up, that dude can hold his breath and close his eyes with his freaking hand on your neck and still continue to stab you. And there's no amount of puncture wound that you can take before you die. I've met people that's been stabbed over 30-something times and live. And I've heard and I've been there on yards where dudes get hit one time and die. You know, there was a dude in Florence. He got poked one time on his side. By the time they rolled him out of that freaking unit, his arm was hanging off the freaking stretcher, limp, dead, doorknob. You know, so you have to understand that when you're in a situation, you're fighting for your life. You're literally fighting for your life. You're in a cell by yourself, even if the dude don't have no weapon. If he just puts you in a chokehold, it takes 3 to 10 seconds for you to black out when somebody got your freaking, both of your arteries freaking choked up. Once you pass out, there's no telling what dude's gonna do to you. If your ass get knocked out on the floor, man, somebody's gonna sit there and jump on your head. And how many pounds of pressure does it take to freaking snap your neck or smash your or crack your skull? A lot of people end up dying because they end up passing out and being a defenseless victim. You know, being in the cell for day in and day out with another individual is a dangerous situation to be. And they got a lot of people in those type of situations right now. Obama passed a law that they weren't supposed to be able to keep you in the SHU for more than 30 days. But I guess the BOP hasn't gotten that memo or change of rule because you still have the SMU program that you're locked down for a 9-month period. You still have ADX that you're locked down underground for years on end. And before I left, I was in the SHU for 4 months. And when I got to Florence, I was in the SHU for 7 months. And this is after Obama already made his changes about not having people locked in a cell for more than 30 days. Well, We need to write the BOP and tell them, because they obviously didn't get the memo, or more likely, they don't give a fuck. But like I said, even if you're secured in the SHU or in the smooth program, and it's just you and your cellie, that in itself can be hazardous and detrimental to your well-being. Welcome to the USP.